stuff. Joined 4-H. So, I mean, I live and breathe agriculture. But the funny thing is when I was 19 years old, my mother wanted me to go to the same college as her. She's trying to be a good mom. No 19-year-old wants to go to school with their mother,
Yep.
including myself. So I couldn't say no, but I could say, Mom, I answered a newspaper ad to become a nanny in Massachusetts, so I'm moving across the country. Somehow that was easier to say than, Mom, I don't want to go to college with you. So that's what I did. I answered the newspaper ad in our little town paper. They published once a week, nannies needed in the greater Boston area. And I thought, you know what, this will fit my goal. I don't want to marry a farmer. I want to see the world. And my husband, 25 years, is not a farmer, so I didn't succeed. But farming is part of who I am, and little did I know I was gonna come back. So after all that work, I left the farm in Kansas on Highway 14, and I now live in Hanson, Massachusetts, on a dirt road, raising 17 chickens off of Massachusetts Route 14. So yes, it is who I am. So I've embraced it. So where did it all start? So Ellsworth, Kansas was known as the wickedest cow town. So if you look up the cow towns of the Midwest, you may stumble across Ellsworth. Everybody knows Dodge, Abilene. So Ellsworth happened kind of in between. My family moved there after the brothels left town. Just want to tell you that. So, but now it's all about modern agriculture. So that is the actual grain elevator, which as a child, I visited that multiple times every summer when the family was harvesting the wheat crops, and it would go into the back of the truck and we would take multiple trips back and forth. And then then they would fill that grain out of the grain elevator and it would go into the back of the train car. And that's where you get those 2-mile-long trains. And it's just full of grains. And they're heading to Kansas City or Chicago. That was my upbringing. To me, that was normal. So when I moved to the East Coast, wow, it was a lot of culture shock. But this is where I belong. I found out I belong in Massachusetts. So I took my boys to Kansas to kind of show them, where did Mom come from? Why am I wage? I am. So they can understand me. And they got a chance to actually harvest. They weren't expecting the young man who was driving the tractor, they were part of the ride-along, to be a 14-year-old boy like themselves. It's their summer job. That's what they're doing. And as Massachusetts Agriculture Teacher of the Year last year, I got to go to the national conference in Minnesota, and we went to this corn farm, and they had cleaned up all of their tractors. Tell you, they don't normally look that shiny. So they cleaned them up really nice for us. But I like to show the kids, you know, this is my 5'11" son, and they know how tall I am.
Oh my
Like
God.
that is how massive those pieces of machinery are that provide bread and cereal and pasta that you take for granted on your table. And where did it come from? But there I discovered that it's not my father's agriculture anymore. This particular combine, as well as everything else, was ran by GPS. Is they coded the GPS to the size of the field, the speed that they needed to either plant, whether they needed to plow, whether they needed to fertilize, or even if they needed to water. And a lot of that is because the average farmer, I learned this today, the average farmer in the US is around 59 years old.
Oh no.
So we really need to get these kids involved in agriculture. Raise your hand if you like to eat. Yeah, so we need those farmers to stay around, right? Something I'm in the works is our science teacher at my school, she wants to do a coding class. And I'm like, I'm gonna team up with you. We can code just like the farmers do to plow their field. And she's like, all game for that. So let me backtrack on to where I work. So I'm very lucky enough to be in a private Montessori school. So our classrooms are integrated. They are 3 levels at a time. And we're a very small school. Like my largest class is 22 kids. and that gets split into half, so I have them 11 at a time, which is fantastic. And using some of those Montessori philosophies, but they're things that everybody should be doing, and even when my kids were in public school, they were things that all teachers do, so this is where it's relatable for you. My whole job is to just teach agriculture. I get to be that curriculum support for all of the amazing teachers in my school that are teaching math, that are teaching ELA and teaching history. My job is to take all of that and give it an agriculture spin. And that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna take what you're doing every day that the state of Massachusetts wants you to do, and we're gonna rev it up agriculture style.
Nice.
So I get a little bit of a budget, but I'm also gonna show you how to be frugal and how I have funded some of these things in my classroom. And you're like, we're not a private school in Deluxebury, you know? But I still have to stay within my parameters. So this grow light that this lettuce is growing on was a grant that I got when I first started. Take advantage of those grants that they have. Did you know Mass Ag in the Classroom has a mini grant program? I'm gonna show you later what I bought with the mini grant I got last September. But again, for me to grow a thing of lettuce for every child, that could get expensive. So I funded the dirt. I actually went to a nursery and asked them for a bag of dirt, so I really didn't have to fund it. But I found a parent who is a gardener and does landscaping, so whenever he has a job, he saves me all of his empty pots. So now I have free pots to have my kids plant things in. So it was growing lettuce, and this year the curriculum stated water cycle. So I was like, the lesson actually happened by accident, because I was just like, oh, we're just gonna water it, we're gonna talk about the water cycle. And then break happened, and we had 2 weeks of Christmas break. I know, it's a horrible thing to complain about. But how was I gonna water these plants without having to come back to school over those 2 weeks? Because I know y'all don't wanna go back to school during your break either, right? So it hit me, what if we put them in the plastic bags and let the water cycle water the plants for us? And the kids would actually see the evaporation and the condensation and how it would come back in.
It works?
That's what happened. So after it sprouts, you have to open it back up, or you're going to get soil flies.
Soil?
Because of the fungus is gonna grow in the soil, and you're gonna get soil flies. But those are fun to try to catch.
So, I'm sorry, I've never heard of soil. So the soil flies eat the mycelium of fungus? Is that why they do?
Yeah.
Are those the little bastards that dig larval tunnels in the mushrooms?
Probably.
There
See, we can cross.
We can cross.
You can collaborate with anything. That's what it's all about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you remove the bag after they sprout?
Exactly. So we were donated all of these produce bags. They're actually for the preschoolers. This is where they put the dirty diapers. They're clean. They're not post-dirty diaper. But half a cup of water, and I put it in. So it's not been sitting in the sun because we've been in the dark, so you can't see. But the water condensation came up and it gathered. And when it gets heavy enough, it falls right back in. And when I sent these home last week, they had the root systems growing all the way out. The kids were like, the roots are growing out of the bottom. And I'm like, imagine what it looks like when you're gonna take it out and plant it. So once it started to grow, I actually just snipped it because I don't have time in my life to go untie them all and leave it down. So now it became a water catch basin. And now the roots had set the bottom, so now it watered from the bottom. So the next time when I went, again, when we had February vacation, they were all set because now they could bottom water. So I didn't have to worry about caring for them, because they already had the roots, exactly. But every time it got to be about 4 inches tall, we would have salad. That was that week's lesson. So the kids would grab their jar, or their thing, they'd come over to the sink. The older kids, the 3rd graders, they got to snip it themselves, but the 1st graders, I would help them flip it, and I would give them a line, plant to here, knowing that follow the line of here, and that way you're not gonna cut into your root system, and you're still gonna grow again. So that was how we grew our lettuce. So we had 22 of these growing, and the kids loved it. Just cut the tops off and it regrew again.
You just let it.
Yep, so we ate salad 3 times.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, we've eaten salad 3 times since Thanksgiving. And I need this now for more real estate space. So I had to send them home because I wanna plant the little cucamelons. Have you ever seen those? Because I wanna put them on a trellis that grows on the playground. So that way over summer camp, they can just start picking them and eating them, and well, I like them too. So that's where we got that. But by doing that, we saw evaporation, we saw condensation, we saw precipitation, we saw how it collected on the bottom. And it really connected how that water cycle works. It's not just the textbook. They saw it in action. So I love the fact that you guys are taking notes, but also at the end of the class, you can do the QR code and it has the entire lesson that I put in. The other one I'm gonna have, somehow it's still back in Hanson, but I'll pull up on the screen what I would've printed, so you can grab that one too. So, and I mean, that young man there, Whitney, that excitement to see how much that grew since the last time he saw it, that's genuine. Like, that is real. He just was so excited for that. And he won't eat the full salads, but he did taste his lettuce. So, then you're also talking about, kids are like, we grew in soil. That showed us our traditional farming, how the water cycle worked there. So then it opens up rain and irrigation, and how I didn't have to come in over the week, the vacation to water their plants. And then I asked them, what would happen if we removed the soil? Could we still grow plants? What if the water cycle was just the water? How would that stand on its own? So it really got them thinking, because they're taught it needs air, you need soil, and you need light. But you don't really need the soil. You just need the nutrients in the soil, right? So then you get into hydroponics. So the first investment I got in my classroom when I got my new fancy budget, and I was like, oh, I can do this. I purchased these 2 tabletop hydroponic systems. They were $70 a piece. I've grown in them for 4 years now. They have 12 slots, but I only put 6 tomato plants in there. I use the Tiny Tim variety, so that's as tall as they get. They're only about a foot tall. And down the middle here, I bought some for the preschool classroom that is completely clear, so they can see the root system growing. So like when we start off with seed to root to stem to leaf, we're following every single one of those stages as the plant is growing before their eyes in their classroom. So when it's their turn that week to come to agriculture class, we're referencing it. But you can do this in your classrooms. You don't need to have an agriculture teacher just dedicated to it. You guys are amazing. I know you can do this. But through here, you'll be able to see the root systems and see how it's taking over. So it didn't take long. So tomatoes typically, yes, do need pollination, but the Tiny Tim variety does not. It is self-pollinating. It possesses both parts of the flower that it needs. Once in a while, you might just need to give it a little, take it up and flick it. And if you're lucky, you actually see a flower. So the kids will always come in and flick it to see if they can catch the, because when you catch that, it's so exciting. But most of it just happens. But again, it's showing that the water has been reused. So I would ask them, do you think we used less water for the lettuce or less water for the tomatoes? So they came up with their hypotheses to figure out, what did they think it was? We kept our controlled environment. And it really talked about a water system versus that water cycle. And you get to see those aha moments really starting to happen with them. But you're probably thinking, how many tomatoes can those little plants really produce? So I'm gonna show you that in a minute. I forgot this slide was here too. In September, I applied for the mini grant. And I asked for $500. And I was able to get this beautiful self-watering tower that sets up on an app. Like I could look it up right now and it would take a quick picture of my plants and it would tell me how they're doing. So even from home, or like when there were power outages, and I was like, oh my gosh, your plant's gonna live, it'll be okay. I could check. And then if it didn't show up, the teacher who lived behind the school, I'd be like texting her, are you guys out of power? I'm offline. You know, so she would like tell me up. But it illuminates the room. So this is probably only 6 weeks after we planted. These are cucumber plants, which then later ended up draping. We ended up putting thumbtacks in the wall and strings so we can string them along. And the cucumber, the same thing with the tomato. The mini cucumbers are self-pollinating as long as you give those flowers a little lick from time to time. And here they are with their harvest. So this one is just to kind of show you, to take your existing lesson plan and just add these things to it. You know, why a farmer might use hydroponics. Get them involved in that observation and that data collection. We have a little booklet that is next to the grow stations, so we can track when did we water it, how much has it grown since the last time you were in class. And then that big question is, what part of the water cycle was the hydroponics of? You know, and then to realize that the whole water cycle is happening within the hydroponic system itself. And how is that different and similar than that traditional gardening that they were used to? It really gets them thinking about the process. And then asking them, what did you prefer? Did you like growing in the dirt? Or did you like growing in the water? And they all decided they like both. But this is the part that gets me really excited, especially with what's happening in the world right now, is the different things that you can do to turn that into a makerspace. Hydroponic gardening is the future because we are running out of land to be able to grow food for a growing world population. And if Artemis, probably, is it 4 that wants to land on the moon?
Yes.
When that happens, that colony on the moon and that colony on Mars is never gonna happen without the agriculture piece. It is 7 months to Mars. Do you wanna eat food dehydrated in a bag? The 7 months to the moon, the Mars, the 7 months back from Mars, and forever how long NASA keeps you there. That agriculture piece is key. So last year, when everything started to develop, when we did the hydroponic, because the water cycle wasn't our curriculum. Our curriculum was space. So they were given the challenge to make a space garden as like a diorama, because they had to understand how would a plant work on, how would it grow on Earth? And then what obstacles would happen in space that are different than Earth. And these were 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders who were making these things. I had a young man actually make a bee farm colony. That was his space garden. Another one, he was very tech, that he created the hydroponic generator that was actually going to clean our water and generate our power as it cleaned our water from the mind of a 3rd grader.
Wow.
You know, and we use recycled products. They're free. Recycled products are free. And when you tell them, you lay out what might be trash, they go shopping, they pick it over, they're having the best time. But whether it's a poster or a makerspace diagram or a diorama, or I had them build them on little food trays. I've used pizza boxes they've built things in. So whatever you have, whatever goes. But that is how you can take your water cycle, your space travel, your parts of a plant, and you can turn that all into a whole agriculture. They can do a write-up about it. So now you have ELA. You can study the history of you know, when did the water farming actually begin? And it actually started a lot longer than you think so. Now, this is the one I wanted to show you. These 54 tomatoes in that jar. That was the harvest I did this past Tuesday. It was salad week. So of course we had fun. We were like, okay, we had harvested 54 tomatoes. There's 22 of you, 11 in each class. How many tomatoes does each class get? So they had to do the math. And so like, okay, who's eating tomatoes in your salad? So we counted, once we figured out how many kids were gonna eat tomatoes, how many tomatoes do each of you get? So we had odd tomato out. So we actually cut tomatoes into fractions. And Tiny Tim tomato cut into 4 pieces isn't much. But they learned what a quarter fraction is of a tomato.
How many plants was that from?
That is from 2 towers of probably, some of them died, so it's probably only 10 plants. But what if we don't have 54 tomatoes? And what if it's not salad week? How do I give kids tomatoes and be fair and keep everybody happy? Because you're outnumbered and you have to keep the peace. Well, you raffle them off, of course. This is the sacred raffle jar.
Oh my gosh.
If they want a chance to eat a tomato that was harvested that day, they have to put their name on a piece of paper to go into the raffle. And if your name is pulled, you win a tomato that day. That's like candy. And guess what? My kids are awesome. They volunteered some of their tomatoes for you guys today.
Aw.
Who wants to try to win a tomato? All right, so put your name on the card, put it in sacred can. Pass it around. And we have, let's see how many chances do we have. We can have 10 winners. Oh, you all might get a tomato.
Almost off.
But of course, there's tiny, Tiny Tim tomatoes. And there's, as they call them, the big mamas.
The big Tiny Tims.
Exactly. So, we haven't done that yet. So we had a fish tank, and then there was a catastrophe. So there's talks of bringing it back, so we can do something like that.
That's what my schedule is.
Yeah,
It's hot.
yeah. Well, because then we wouldn't even have to keep adding the solution to feed it.
Yeah.
The fish would
Too
take
much
care of it.
What type of fish did you have?
These were just goldfish.
I recommend mosquito fish.
Okay,
They're almost impossible to kill.
it's always good.
Mine were left in a Rubbermaid Tupperware container over the summer with no food, and they all survived.
Oh, wow, so
Wow.
hardy.
Yeah.
Do they eat mosquito larvae? Is that what
Yeah.
it comes to? Wow, I want
Thank
some.
goodness.
Just my suggestion.
No, I like that.
And they like a slightly dirtier tank, but actually helps your plant.
Right, right.
Where do you get them?
I order them from, you get them from Cole Parmer, or you can also get them usually sometimes like your local fish store. If they don't have them in stock, you can always ask for them to order them. If it's a
Oh,
local
okay.
fish store, not like a Petco or a PetSmart, but you know, like a
Mm.
mom and pop.
Yeah.
place. And they're
But
inexpensive.
the fish tank actually might survive better if it's in my classroom.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, how come Abby does all the cool stuff? Like, oh,
Cause the
Because
tank I have,
agriculture's
is
fine.
the tank I have is only 10 gallons.
yeah, that's all you would
And
need.
then I just made like a plastic tray, and then I just put a pump, and just like,
Yeah,
and it's on a 15 minute timer,
I
so
love
it
that.
only goes off every, twice an hour.
yeah, but it introduces more vocabulary and another way of growing things. And that actually is what they probably should be growing in space. If they can figure out, to not have the fish
Float.
blue.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave that up to Nat.
How do we keep the fish in the water?
Okay.
It's the water, it's the water
It's
that
the
they're
water.
that's affected, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the fish that's the problem.
It's the
And you
water.
guys noticed, my son's obsession with Pringles actually helped provide our wonderful sacred tomato can. It's a gorgeous. And you're gonna find out why it is so special in a moment. Besides just looking cool, it has another great feature.
Uh-oh.
It's a very good solar oven too.
Yeah.
It's a very good
What?
it's a very
Are
good
they?
solar oven. There's solar competitions and you can like put a hot dog or something in that and put it in the sun and it just.
All right.
cooks it up.
Everybody
Okay,
who
we're
wants a
watching.
chance
The
to
Pringle
win a tomato,
The Pringle can
Yeah, cause
itself.
it's foil.
place
Yeah.
their order.
Yeah.
All right. The first
Oh my God.
Drum roll. All right. And then they know.
Oh my God.
Are you excited?
Oh, so.
Could this be the best tomato you had in your whole life?
Better be.
That's
Okay,
everything.
the first tomato of the day goes to Anna.
Yay!
All right, you get the first choice.
Whew.
Woo! All right.
But again,
Second tomato.
I love that. Oh my God.
That must like, it's a great attention getter.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm,
I like
I'm
it.
already drum roll
Using
again.
that on
Drum
my-
roll. All right. Rochelle. Woo!
God.
Very exciting.
And I have kids who
They
they
do that
try
for
a tomato,
pencils, I mean.
they don't like the tomato.
There's a.
So they
pencil
kids are like, they
shortage,
didn't like
yeah.
it last
Fine,
time.
they're
They're
pencils.
wasting the tomato. It's like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
Because you have to
pencils.
try something 13
If you're
times
naming, you
before
get a
you
free
develop the
pencil.
kids to like it. And I have kids who last year, they didn't like the tomato. This year, they do like the tomato. So it matters.
How is it? Very good. No pressure.
Oh, and the first, every first tomato of the year gets a photograph.
Good,
Yes.
good.
And then after they get their second tomato, I'll get a picture again. All right, third tomato. We're gonna do third and fourth, just because we went right out of time. All right, we have Elizabeth.
Yo.
Woohoo! And Kristen.
Mm.
Oh, perfect.
One trip.
Perfect, perfect.
There's a few big ones left.
We mentioned our kids, like, you get a raffle, or you can do this kindness thing, like, Country Being Good goes in.
Absolutely. You can do so many things
Yeah,
to like help promote it.
answer a question, you get a raffle
Right.
ticket. Participating class.
All right, we have 6 tomatoes left.
Sometimes you need that. Just a little.
One that's really not a full tomato, but I bet he's sweet. Liz. Woo! And Jacqueline. Oh, over here again. All right. 4 tomatoes left after these 2 ladies.
Thank you.
I can hear the math story. There were 10 tomatoes, and then there are 4 left.
Exactly.
Well, what are your odds of winning now?
So many
Well,
applications for the
sometimes
tomato
there's
raffle.
only like 3 tomatoes that work that day. And sometimes if I can't give group A as many tomatoes as group B, well, it's only fair that I eat the odd. Right? You don't need to know. Okay, oops, that one fell out. That one cheat. We have Jonathan. As I say, that might be the sweetest.
Mmm,
Mm-hmm.
mmm.
And Derek. All right, Derek, there's 3.
Very exciting.
Mmm.
Well, and if you want a tomato that week, you can't enter the next week. That way, everybody has a turn to win a tomato before you start the round all over again. All right. I think almost everybody's gonna get one. Oh. One of you won't get a tomato. I'm so sorry. Maybe next year. Amy.
Yay.
Yes.
Amy S.
Been a lot of Amy's today.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Who hasn't had a tomato yet? All right, only one of you's gonna get it. No fighting, please.
You could split it. So accurate though.
Split it.
Please.
All right,
They're good.
last tomato of the day. Don't you hate it when they draw it out like that?
Kids like it.
Is Morgan. Woohoo!
Morgan.
Where's the tomato? There we go.
Hey.
Tell your kids thank you.
Yoo-hoo.
Yeah, thank you.
I certainly will. They will be so.
Take a picture. There you go.
And chances are, like, she'll be like, oh, you can have it if you.
I think she drove the furthest today as well.
There you go. Perfect. Well, they'll be so excited. The kids want to be giving. You just have to give them the opportunity.
There is someone here from Sandwich though.
She's from Pittsfield.
I know you're from Pittsfield, so
That's
is Pittsfield,
I think
both
it's.
of them are pretty far, yeah.
Let's find out.
Yeah, that's a lot.
pretty
But yeah, yeah, grim.
All right, you can, you sandwich
All
is
right,
75
everybody
miles
digest
from
your
here.
tomatoes.
Feel good about myself, thanks.
And aren't they like they really are a very sweet, yummy tomato?
Who won? They're both 75 miles,
Oh
so
my
I need
goodness.
the actual address.
And I probably have another three still on the vine, green or orange, that are ready to go. We'll be eating tomatoes till the end of the year.
We have very nice stuff.
It's
So well.
We planted it in September and we were eating tomatoes by Christmas.
We did a
Yeah,
class
we
first
did that.
session. Oh, yeah, you have the dog.
So, oh, and I've done green beans in this also. So, cause green beans are also self-pollinating, they just have to be a bush bean.
Bush bean.
And you have to sprout them before you put them in, because the little hydroponic pod, the whole giant bean seed doesn't, but if you like do the lesson of sprouting the green beans out to actually like look at the root system and see how it sprouted and then put it in, you get another whole lesson bonus out of it. And they're just picking the green beans and we're raffling them off as,
What did you sprout them in? The paper towel
just
or-
paper towel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my tomato tail.
Nice.
So we put it in full salad, they actually chop up all the vegetables. So, the older kids will. I'm not gonna give her the knife anymore. She's like, that one young lady, she declared, this is the best salad she'd ever had in her whole life, all 8 years of it. Right? And they clean up. I don't do dishes. I don't sweep the floor. They take care of it all.
That's the way it should be.
Yep. So now we get into this massive thing in front of you. So our school does a thing every year, it's called Celebration of the World. We lovingly call it COW, Celebration of the World. And this year, it's about promoting that equality and loving all ethnicities and all cultures. And this year, our focus is on South America. So every student in the school right now, whatever grade level they are, is studying something about South America. So when they come to agriculture, we're learning about agriculture of South America, whether it's the past, the present, or talking about what's gonna happen in the future. So in my students who are 4th, 5th, and 6th, we decided to jump into the Andes Mountains. And we already talked about what did the Andes do? That they didn't invent agriculture like they did in Mesopotamia, but they really were the forefathers of that agriculture engineering and creating that, those first types of hydroponics and moving the water and diversing it and taking, and how do you grow on a mountainside where it might just erode? And getting them to understand how did they do that and how are they still doing it to this very day? And then what crops came out of that we have today? You know, and asking them, how many of your parents stop for coffee on the way to school? You know, how many of them are eating quinoa or exactly, you know, all of these things that they've like taken for granted, but they began here. So then we have that history that jumps into the geography, which then now we're tying in the agriculture, and just following everything that they did in the Andes Mountains and the Incas, and they told you I'm a crazy chicken lady. So then to be able to tell them that the chickens that came from South America, they don't have tails. It's, I'm gonna mispronounce it, it's the Amaricana. They're the ones that have like the little
I have
cups.
3.
Okay, and they don't have tails, and they don't have that uropylo gland they use for preening, and they lay blue eggs. Scientists have discovered that they think anywhere between 300 to 500 years ago that the chickens had developed some form of a disease that changed their DNA, and they started laying blue eggs. That it changed their entire genetic makeup. So every chicken that lays a blue egg today, its genetics can be traced back to those very early chickens. So now we've introduced genetics. And what's happening there, that they want to eat it all up. So, but this particular challenge is to take recycled products, plus a few craft supplies that I would get. So I provided popsicle sticks, random stuff. A lot of stuff I get on the free cycle, I'll just be like, what types of odds and ends stuff that you never would want, whether it's a button or like, oh, these little sticks. I don't even know where I got those. I have no idea what they go to. But somebody said, you want these? As a teacher, we're hoarders. We said, of course we do, right? So their task was to build the irrigation system that would come down a mountainside that would water all of the terraces.
Whoa.
But it can't go too fast because then it would have erosion. So that was their first task. They worked in teams of 2 and 3, and these are 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. A 4th grader and a 6th grader did this one. It's all about that mentorship too. So first they had to sit down with a piece of paper and actually plan it out. What are gonna be their 3 tiers? How is it gonna work? And then they kept testing. They decided it needed to have a soft little cushion. So they would test it. Whoops!
You got that? There you go.
Thank you. Not a real marble. Go with the ball that bounces. Do yourself a favor. So it goes down. See how slow this one goes? Now, here they ran into a problem. There's a clogged pipe. So this duct tape here must have gotten messed up in travel. So I'll do them a favor.
Here it goes.
This is worked from the chair, but it does come into the end. So then after they had their engineering, and it was a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
When we do a makerspace, I plan to fail. That's the whole point of it, is to fail and to learn from that failure. And they ripped it up and they did it again. So then after they had that done, then I told them, well, now you need to make your farm that your water system is going to grow. It must possess terraces, and you need to have crops. So they came up with this.
Very nice.
They did make one minor little mistake. Can you spot it? It has to do with what plant is growing at the wrong elevation.
Cactus.
I'm not sure exactly
Oh,
what
I'm
it
sorry.
was. The tomatoes
Tomatoes.
Oh, very.
would not grow at a higher elevation. Those would be down in the valley.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and then, so we have an alpaca and goats on campus. So they decided that they were also gonna be alpaca farmers. So this is the fiber from one of our actual alpacas.
Oh, that's showing off.
And blankets. So I mean, she has,
It is, yeah.
I mean,
We have like
blankets on the
alpaca.
side. It's actually our school mascot. And then counterpart is still a work in progress. He did not make the deadline. It's the deadline. Sorry. What's not done is done. That's part of learning, that's part of the consequence, you gotta make your deadlines. But the little corn, so, I didn't have the heart to tell them the alpacas went to put in wonderful little shelters, they would disgrace the fields. So we just kinda left that one as it was. We kinda kept it as a good job. So that is this is the two young kids. Her parents do not give permission for her face to be fully seen, so that's why I've blacked out her eyes to protect her identity.
But that's Lisa, I know her.
Right? But when I was like snapping, I caught her whole excitement. It works, it works. And she was just jumping. As you see, they weren't completely done. This, I think, is probably to this point, is what they had finally mastered before they went on. Oops. So that was another team they decided to do. I'm not sure, they decided to have pipes come out into their fields. I'm not sure if that would really work, but if they could engineer it and they could explain it, we went with it. So after they finished their project, I also had them do a report write-up. Tell me about your system. What did you do? How does it work? How is this going to help the people of the Andes Mountains? And then it was graded based on the writing skills. So now we had ELA. And then I was like, these are pretty cool. We need to share these. So then we invited the kindergartners, who are their little buddies. That's actually a cross term. They came and they did a full-blown presentation to them. And now they became the teachers and were teaching the kindergartners about the Andes Mountains and how to do it. And like, oh, you would have thought these kindergartners gone to the circus. It was just so much fun. Whoops. And then there was the third crew, so they like to use the Pringles can too. So this here is the first, second, and third graders. When they weren't growing their tomatoes, they had to make a diorama that represented the animal that they made in art class. So I team up with the art teacher a lot, and we call it articulture. It's all, right, it's all about that cross. So they made terracotta clay heads of an animal that grows in South America. And while they were doing that, I did a whole lesson on chia seeds. Where did they come from? How are they grown? How long have they been around? How come we're just learning about them now? Why, all the superfood properties. And then I let them do chia seed experiments. Because after they swish around, they become this awesome, disgusting, cool goo, which do not let any of it go down your school safe drain. Not because it clogged it, or maybe you do, because I had chia sprouts growing out of my sink. Yeah, it was in a sponge that I used to wipe it down. So yeah, it wasn't
There's
bad.
worse things.
Yeah, so.
Things I've seen.
So Cal, our celebration of the world, is actually right after break. So I will be taking 22 of these home with me over break just so I can babysit them. This one I planted Tuesday, and the root system is just now starting to happen. So I'm gonna pass him around so you can see that one too. So their chia head will be on display during Cal in front of their box. So they had to make a diorama of the habitat of their pet. So we have some kids with the Andes Mountains, we have some kids with the rainforest, and we have one young lady who is actually doing the plains of Brazil. Because her great-grandparents live on a farm in Brazil. And she started talking about it. So I wrote to Mom and Dad, I said, could you give me some more information about this amazing farm that Livia speaks of so highly? So the dad's like, well, I'll just send you in some pictures. So I was thinking, I'd get a couple of pictures via email, explaining everything. The whole
Oh my
family
goodness.
sat down and made these.
Oh my
I'm gonna pass these around, showing that she has been on this great-grandparent's farm since she was a baby. up until now, I think she's just now turning 7, and just talking about the different crops that they grow. My favorite part is when they talk about the cows, is that they utilize the milk, the beef, cheese, talk about the hides, fertilizer, and then joy. The animals give them joy. So I've asked Olivia if I could bring these today, and these are going behind her diorama. So her diorama is her great-grandmother's farm. Isn't that amazing? So I'll pass these around too. So even just utilizing what you have in your classroom, you don't know what connections your kids have on whatever lesson you're gonna do that you can bring in. And these kids had no idea, when they thought of a farm in South America, they certainly weren't thinking about this. I wasn't thinking about, like, this whole experience was another PD for me. Because it just took me down a whole nother, like, rabbit hole that I was, like, looking for, that I did not even know existed. And, come on, this sloth, right? Isn't that adorable? Now, kids say the darndest things. One of the kids made a little clay monkey. I couldn't help myself, I told Kathy this story. I was trying to get through it without cracking up on you guys. She picks it up, she's dead serious. Why does my monkey look constipated? And I'm like, oh. Is there a timer? Where did I put my mouse? Oh, there it is.
Out of the mouths of
But
babes.
everything that they've learned on how the rainforest works and the oxygen that it needs to produce to keep the rest of our world going, all of the fruits and medicines that originated in the rainforest that we have today because the rainforest exists, those were the lessons they got, and now this was their test. Tell me what you learned. Can you pull it off? So, and that's just the makerspace. And very few craft items, a lot of recycled product. I just wanna show you the bottom of this whole thing.
It's an old,
It's an old poster.
Little poster.
Uh-uh.
beautiful.
Cause even $1.25 at the dollar store,
Sure. I get
times
it.
enough kids,
Exactly.
it adds up. And now this does not go into the landfill without another use. So everything has that recycle, repurpose, reuse, just really driving it in. So, thank you. So now, do you feel as if you can take any subject available